Hi. So I have been thinking about and playing Tearlaments a fair amount, and I am at a point with the deck and my build where I am comfortable enough to kind of talk about it. It's been a while since I've posted one of these discussion type videos, but because it is a new deck, I am hoping to help some other people who might be stuck or looking for ideas with their build. So, Tearlaments, for those who don't know, are a fusion based archetype released in Power the Elements. They fuse the members of the archetype perform fusion summons when they are sent to grave by a card effect. There is also a lot of inherent milling effects in the archetype as a way to facilitate these send to grave triggers. So it's a fun deck. It's an interesting deck. It doesn't really lock you in any ways, and it doesn't really restrict you in what you can fusion summon. So you get to play a lot of cool generic fusion cards, and it's fun if you like, to mill cards and see what happens. So I want to talk about more general concepts with the deck, but I want to go over just the deck list so we're all on the same page. So I'm playing 3 Shaylin, 3 Havnus, 3 Merly, and 3 Rhinoheart, 3 Planet, and then 1 Metanoise and 2 Salic. This is like my core tier engine, I guess. You're basically always wanting to play these 15, I think. Rhinoheart is just your ideal starter. Perlino is like your A starter, but also further interruptions. And then, even though, like, I think Shaylin and Havnus are great, and I think I see a lot of people cut Merly to 2, and, like, I get it. But also, you just want to mill them. I think, especially in, like, a quote unquote pure version like this, you just want threes of everything to be able to mill them. Metanoise and Salic are nice because they plus you when they are milled or sent to grave by card effect. But also they are in engine like searchable interruptions that facilitate further fusion summons. We play 2 Shaddols, 1 Squamata, 1 Beast. If you draw them or if you mill them, then you just instantly have access to Winda. We play 3 King of the Swamp, 2 Poly. I've been messing around with this ratio a lot. I'm not like in love with this ratio. Like I've tried 2-2, 2-1. It's all fine. I just think you want some number of both in the deck because polymerization is pretty powerful because you get like multiple fusion monsters off of it if you fuse with the dark tiers. And then King of the Swamp is really nice because it's an aqua, so it lets you summon like your Kit Kalos and Kaleido Heart. But also, as a fusion substitute, it gives you access to, specifically in this extra deck, Kaliga and Millenniumize Restrict, which is really cool. I'm playing 3 copies of Mass Change Second as kind of a spicy thing. I'll go more into detail of why I like Darklaw in the deck and this card, but it's just like Darklaw Axis. If you draw it, you just randomly get to summon Darklaw, and that can win games sometimes. 1 instant fusion. This is just more engine, basically. It's like another one of starter. Same with terraforming. Obviously, terraforming gets you Perleno. Perleno gets you Rhinoheart, etc. Foolish is nice because it's access to Shaddolls or a name you haven't used to fuse. Called by is really good. Galaxy Cyclone, I'm just maining one as like an out to Mystic Mine in the main deck. I don't know how popular mine is actually going to be going forward, but in my head, there's no world where this deck doesn't just hard lose to mine, so I'd rather have something in my 75 that deals with it. And then the last 7 cards are 3 Dark Ruler, 3 Droplet, and 1 Mystic Mine. The Mystic Mine is here just because it was like a 40th card and we could get it off terraforming sometimes. But these 6, I felt that when I was testing hand traps, I was testing around 9 plus hand traps, plus the 3 Havnus. Like, Havnus is a hand trap, but, I was testing like traditional hand traps like Ash, Ogre, Crow, Imperm, whatever. I was testing like 9 of those, and they just never felt good enough when playing against Sprite. And I feel like Sprite is really the only deck you have to worry about when playing this deck. Generally speaking, of course. extra deck, we have two Winda, one Darklaw, one Caliga. I put these here just because these are kind of like your go-to win conditions. I think this deck is probably best as like a protect the floodgate style of deck, and I'll get more into that in a minute. Uh, for like engine stuff, we have two Kit Kalos and one Kaleido Heart. I think this card is just like absurd. But again, I'll get more into that. And then for like generic fusions, Guardian Chimera, because we're playing the polys, and Guardian Chimera is pretty good. Two Dragos Depelia, because it's one of the better generic fusions you can play. One Mud Dragon of the Swamp. This doesn't really come up that much, but it's kind of nice because it's a level 4, which facilitates like your rank 4 stuff. And then one Millenniumize Restrict, because it's cool and super expensive, I guess. And then I'm playing 3 rank 4s, Redoer, Abyss Dweller, and Baguska. I like Baguska the least out of these 3, but Redoer is insane. I try to summon him pretty much every game. And then Dweller is also nice just for those times where it instantaneously wins you the entire game. Side deck, which is important here. So my side deck is segmented by like these first 7 cards are just going second cards. So 3 Lava Golems, 1 Pank, 2 Lightning Storm, 1 Duster, 1 Red Reboot, and then my going first cards are 3 Appointer, 3 Anti-Spell, and Tearlaments Crime. So the theory for this specific build is, like I said, I think Tearlaments are probably best played as like a protect the floodgates style of deck. And the way that we protect our floodgates is we either put up multiple floodgates so it's that much more difficult to play, or we put up our floodgates with what I like to call insurance. So for context, I think really common cards this format are going to be cards like Dark Ruler, Droplet, Imperm, Lava Golem, Sphere Mode, just a bunch of stuff that clears the field. So you can't just go Winda Pass. Like, you are probably going to lose more games by going just Winda Pass than you are going to win. So you need Winda with a backup plan. And in this deck, the backup plan could honestly mean a lot of stuff. An example of a backup plan is ending on Winda Redoer with Sharon under it. So if they do something like they, let's say they kaiju the Winda, they imperm the Winda, they do something, but that you keep the Redoer, then you're able to detach for Redoer. Because Redoer detaches as a card effect, when you detach Sharon from Redoer, that will trigger Redoer's effect. Oh, sorry. That will trigger Sharon's effect to fuse. So you shuffle back the Sharon plus the Winda to make the other Winda from your extra deck. Other examples of like insurance are if you get Dark Rulered or Droplets and they negate your Redoer and they negate your Winda, but you ended your plays with like a Merly in play because, again, you're just trying to play around all this kind of stuff. You can Merly and then either use Salic or Metanoise to negate something or book something. And then because these both send Tearlament monsters to grave by card effect, that is another example where you can trigger the tier and shuffle the triggered tier and the negated Winda back to create the second Winda. Right, so that's the kind of stuff I'm imagining when I say insurance. Other forms of insurance with how I've built this deck is going first. Crime is a searchable counter trap. Anti-spell is going to beat cards like Artemate Slay and Dark Ruler no more. And then a pointer is going to beat normal spells and stuff like Lava Golem, Kaijus, Sphere Mode, etc. And in cases where they don't have cards like that you need to take with a pointer, you can take Engine, right? So I think a pointer is pretty good exclusively going first. So yeah, again, that's what I mean by like floodgates plus insurance or whatever. There's a lot of configurations and stuff you can do. to protect your cards. For instance, Mass Change Second to me is more of a defensive card. Like obviously, you're going to have games that Dark Law, being a macrocosmos, is just going to completely shut them out of the game. But what I was thinking when I was building this deck is Mass Change Second is pretty cool because it can just forcefully trigger a tier monster that you've normal or special summoned. It can help your Kit Kalos dodge like Veil or Imperm. And if you Mass Change Second into Darklaw, that means they cannot Droplets you, and they cannot use Artemate Slay either, and they can't use DD Crow. There's just a bunch of hand traps and going second cards that they just can't use when Darklaw is out. So I think that's a valuable thing to consider because I'm just building this deck very defensively, expecting people to be playing a lot of blowout going second cards to try to beat Sprite. Similarly, I'm playing a lot of blowout going second cards, and then I'm side decking even more going second cards. And like, my side patterns are very simple in that regard. Like most of the, like if I'm playing another monster combo deck, I am cutting my Mass Change Seconds, bringing in Lava Golems. If I want the Pank and the Red Reboot because I think they might be siding something in like D-Barrier, and then Pank's just good, then it's not that hard for me to cut 2 more cards. Like I could cut like a Meta Noise because I just probably don't need it going second, and then maybe like one of my King of the Swamp pieces. I haven't like solidified those parts, but like the very basic sideboard guide for this deck so far is if you think you need a Lava Golem, cut the Mass Change Seconds for the Lava Golems. If you think you need these cards against like a back row deck, cut the Mass Change Seconds. And then going first, I just cut these last 7 cards for these 7 cards, right? So I think in theory all of that is super solid and is like a super straightforward, simple way to play the deck. Now, what else is there to talk about with this deck? Because there's a lot to talk about. This deck, I think, requires you to play it a lot and to kind of think ahead, because it can be kind of overwhelming. Like the simplest part of the deck is you're trying to just get to your first Kit Kalos, right? And you can get to your first Kit Kalos a lot of ways. You could just Rhino Heart, dump a tier, and that's a Kit Kalos. You can mill with any of these 3, right? And then if they mill a tier monster, you can shuffle back this tier on field and a tier engrave to make the Kit Kalos. But then everything after that is like super murky and super difficult, I think. Because again, it depends on the rest of the cards in your hand. It depends what you think you can extend into. So I don't know if there is a great or succinct way to go over that kind of stuff. Like, tier is definitely a deck where you have like a priority system, I guess, and like your highest priority is summon Kit Kalos, and then Kit Kalos search or Kit Kalos dump is going to kind of like whatever you choose to find is going to kind of shape the rest of your turn, I think. And then like obviously you want to be in a position with Kit Kalos. Like what if I just do test hands while I'm talking? Sure. So let's just like use this as an example. So you like Perlano into Rhino Heart because you're just trying to get to Kit Kalos. And then you normal summon Rhino Heart. And then we'll dump. So with this hand, because we don't have a tier in hand and we might just want to mill like a lot of cards, I'm just going to dump Merly now because I'm probably searching Merly with Kit Kalos, and doing it this way kind of gives you the most tiers in deck, right? So we won't activate Perlano. We'll just activate Kit Kalos. But there are situations where you might want to activate Perlano here just to pop the Kit Kalos early. Like, that's super valid if you're trying to play around Ash or whatever. You can also like mass change second here if they try to imperm or Valor your kit. Uh, but yeah, right now we're just going to search Merly, and we're going to add her to our hand. And like here, like we activate Kikalos, we target herself to special summon a tier from our hand or grave. Generally, like the way I've been playing the deck, this is where I would activate Mass Change. We discard the Merly. We discard the thing we want to summon with Kikalos, and then we just summon it from grave with Kikalos. So we summon back the Merly. And then like we build a chain to mill 8. So we milled 3 there, and then we trigger some effects. Okay, so we go to chain link 5 here, which is pretty crazy, but yeah. So there's no way that I knew I would get to this point necessarily from just normal summon Rhinoheart. Like I can like envision or see myself with the Merly. Like I could see myself looking at a hand and saying, okay, this is like Rhinoheart into Kikalos Merly mill 8. But then it's like, well, what do we do after the mill 8? So I hate EDO Pro and I can't look at my grave. Maybe I could look at the log. Nope. So let's just Sharon, Squamata. I don't think it really matters. Havness. Oh, I could look at my grave like that. So we did mill a Meru. Sure. So I'll Meta Noise, target Meru. And then I'll Salic. And Salic add. So Salic, you want to add Havness, I think, because it's just like follow up. And then Merly is also follow up, which is why we're adding it to our hand. And then one of the tiers, we can summon Dragos Depelia by doing the Havness and the Kikalos. And then we can send Beast to Grave. And then we can summon Winda using Squamata and Shaylin. And then we can just activate the effective Beast to draw a card, because why not? So like that was a very good mill from Kikalos Meru or Melry or Merly, and not every mill is going to be like that, but that's like a general thing of how I have been playing the deck, is like maximizing mills and like envisioning ways to get to end boards. Because if we get Dark Rulered here, that does blow. Like that absolutely blows. But we have Havness. So if we get Dark Rulered and they start to play, we can Havness, we can mill 3. And then when Havness mills 3, if we mill a tier, we can remake Winda and then pop something with Proleno. If they have droplets and they drew... Well, they can't droplets at all because we have Dark Claw, right? But if they have like... What am I thinking? If they have like dark... Yeah, so if they Dark Roar us, we have Havness, and Havness lets us play. And if our Havness mills a Rhinoheart, then that also gives us some room to play because Rhinoheart can bring itself back. If we really want to like reset the Dark Claw, like we would probably just set the Mass Change second, like regardless, because it's a card that doesn't do anything. And then we can go through some shenanigans. If we mill a tier off of the Havness, we can put the Dark Claw back in our extra deck to make another Dragos Depelia. And then we mass change away the Merly to go into a Dark Claw. And then we could do Merly plus the negated Winda to make Winda. And we still have Winda Dark Claw, right? Like there's just a lot of different paths and crazy things I think this deck can do that you just need to like fiddle around with the deck and see what happens. So like we draw the Beast here, which is pretty good. So like here, it's probably like a really similar line, honestly. So this time I'm opting to dump Sharon because I think off the Kick Kalos I want to search Sharon. And obviously, like in the last hand in this hand, like I could just instant fusion and everything's crazier. But I'm trying to keep this like simple, I guess. Not sure how good of a job I'm doing at that. So like here, like I'm really greedy, so I want to do Sharon plus Beast. So we're going to do exactly that. And then effective Beast to draw one. Then look at our grave. Okay, we hit the Reno Heart, so we do have a target for Kick Kalos, which we could have gotten with Foolish, so this wasn't like a total YOLO play. So I'm going to target Kick Kalos, summon the Reno Heart at Resolution, send the Kick Kalos mill 5, and then we get to do some stuff. Cool. So I will Merly, and I will Salic, and I will Havness. So like in this situation, you can take the Kick Kalos and the Havness, make a Dragostapelia. We can use the Salic to search a Havness to have more like defense or follow-up plays. And then we could do the Merly plus the Beast for Winda. And then we still have one more special summon under Winda, so we can do Redoer. And then, like we said, Droplets. So we have play through Droplets. We have play through Havness. Again, in a situation where we get blown out, quote unquote, by Dark Ruler, like the Havness has to do a lot of work, but that's a better situation than I think a number of other decks would be in. And then I'll do one more test hand because again, this deck could probably do stuff like this for a while, but I'm not sure. Not sure if there's much of a point because again, like I'm just trying to demonstrate that the deck like once it routes into Kick Kalos, like most of the time you're just trying to route into Kick Kalos, and then after that you're like on your own. So there's like two different ways we can do this. We can either like I think the high rollier play is to Sharon, pitch King of the Swamp, mill 3, see what happens, and then like if we don't mill anything off the Sharon, we could still proc it with Mass Change, which let's do that because it sounds more fun. If you wanted to play safer, you could just poly these straight into Kick Kalos, or even poly these into Millenniumize Restrict, and then Sharon Effect Engrave to summon Kick Kalos. But again, like let's just do goofier stuff. Okay, so we mill a Sharon, and we milled a Reno Heart. So we just like win Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever, I guess. So Sharon and King of the Swamp for Kick Kalos. Kick Kalos effects. I think here. Here we could add a trap. Does that sound right? Because like my plan here, like thinking of my plan here, I want to summon back the Reno Heart. Because the Reno Heart, that's like a guaranteed fusion. So yeah, I'll add Salic because I think Salic is pretty good. And then I will do the Kick Kalos play. I'll target Kick Kalos and I'll chain Mass Change. And then I'll discard Poly, I guess, and target Kick Kalos. And then at Resolution, summon Darklaw. At Resolution, summon Reno Heart. And then this is also like a pretty difficult thing to decide. Um, it's kind of like hard on EDO Pro because it's hard to see like what your graveyard is, but you can go like Chainlink 1 Reynolds, Chainlink 2 Kit Kalos, just so you'll like dump something that's like a guaranteed fusion. So let me count names. Okay, so we whiffed on names, so that's unfortunate. So I just have to like send them early, right away. Um, ooh, interesting. I don't think that really changes our play. So I think here. So we didn't have access. We don't have access to our Shadals, but we have access to Kaliga. Um, and we have a Dark Claw already. So here I like Kaleido Heart because we shuffle like we just shuffle 3 from our grave and we get our Kaleido Heart, right? And then we have Salic. So we have Salic and we have Redoer. So right here, what this board represents is a lot of stuff. So Darklaw is Darklaw. That's like the easiest card to understand on this board. Off of Redoer, because we have a Sharon under it. When we detach for Redoer, we will send Sharon to the grave to perform a fusion summon. That will also trigger Kaleido Heart's effect to target a card on the field and shuffle it into the deck. And then we can make a Dragos Depelia if we think we need Dragos Depelia. We can actually make the second Kit Kalos. And making the second Kit Kalos does there is it searches us more follow-up. Like it could search us a Havness, but then we can also like use the effect of Celiac on the opponent's turn to imperm something to negate one of their monsters when they try to play. And then send the Kit Kalos we summon at resolution of Celiac, which will then trigger Kit Kalos to mill, and then we mill 5, and then if we mill any names, that's even more fusion summons. And you can see where this deck like very quickly gets out of hand. And in a situation like you don't even need to, if you want to just chain fusion summons, you could even just send Kaleido Heart with Celiac, because when Kaleido Heart is sent to grave by a card effect, you could special summon it and then send one Tearlaments card from your deck to the grave. So, there's a lot of ways to go about the turns in this deck. So yeah, I think you just got to keep playing it. You just got to figure out what you like and what you don't like. You need to kind of learn to prioritize different floodgates against different decks. But I think one of the easier ways to approach the deck is find your floodgate or floodgates, and then find ways to follow up or to like insulate your floodgates. So whether that's like ways to interact outside of just the floodgates, or ways to put the floodgates back into play if something happens to them. Yeah, just stuff like that. So, I hope this is helpful for some people. I know that, again, this isn't like a normal deck where you can just look up combo tutorials and combo guides. I think there's a lot of having to think on your feet, and a lot of just figuring out how your mills, like how the cards you mill interact and beat your opponent's deck, I guess. And also, like in the first test hand, when I just like went to Chainlink 5 with Kit Kalos and Merly milling 8, like that's a lot of stuff to think about, and it's like just a super overwhelming game state to be in. And this deck is in those game states a lot, and you'll often be in those game states like during your opponent's main phase. Like, just as an example, I had a game on Saturday with this deck where I Havnessed my opponent, and then the Havness milled Heart, I think. It milled Heart and something else. I think it like milled Reno Heart and a Shaylin. So I fused for Kit Kalos and I summoned the Reno Heart, and then both the Reno Heart and the Kit Kalos are sending cards to grave. And then I don't remember the exact scenario, but it was basically four separate chain links went off. And it's like chain link, like not four separate chain links, four separate chains. I activate an effect resolves, that makes another effect activate. I just keep going and going, and eventually, during my opponent's first turn, I have a Dragos Depelia in play, and I have a Kaleido Heart in play, and it's just like that plus hand traps because I was playing Ash Imperm Crow at the time. Like my two hand traps plus my Hofness Mill just my Havness Mill giving me like two boss monsters that were two more interruptions just completely shut them out of the game. So yeah, it's just a lot of information, and also like there's a lot of ways to build the deck. I'm not saying you need to always play this deck with board breakers and the mass change seconds. This is just stuff I really like because again, I'm most afraid of Sprite, so I want the board breakers in the main, and I feel like Darklaw is uniquely positioned to beat other graveyard decks, but also protect your deck from like Valor. It'll protect you from Valor, depending on when you summon the Darklaw. It'll protect you from Valor and Crow, but also like Artemate Slay, Forbidden Droplets, just a bunch of random stuff. So again, I hope this was helpful, and maybe I'll make more content about this deck because it's really like the first deck in a long time that I'm super into. Like I'm super motivated enough to make a video about it, and the last one of those was Crystron's, which is kind of yikes. But yep. Have a good evening or day, whatever time of day you're watching this, and see you in the next one.